The FBI says not to use SMS anymore. This whole RCS, SMS thing, I don't know if it's just me, but the text message, it's a disaster.
Blackfest says it has to be bad when the United States government is recommending we use communication tools they cannot actively monitor.
That is so true. That is like the quote of the year right there. I think it's secure by default. That's basically the world we need to live in. And I think now we have government backing for this.
We've been talking about the secure by design principle for over 23 years. Here's what's going to solve it. Open by design. I should be able to put in a kernel level debugger on my phone. I should be able to put in a sniffer on my phone. I should be able to intercept any and all the traffic that goes from any app that I pay for and I run on my device on my phone. You want to secure things? Open them up.
We have seen some state regulations that specifically do apply to data brokers. Like Oregon, where I live, has one. California has one that basically requires them to do certain things and not store certain things. So I do think that a national framework for that would probably be useful.
A lot of people are asking, what's regulation going to look like under the Trump administration? There's been overtures that there's going to be deregulation across the board. Other people are saying, well, there might be a bit of status quo for a little bit. But if you're in compliance like I am, I do think we need to assume that there's going to be a bit of deregulation, especially with the new proposed head of the SEC.
The frustration with data brokers and getting your stuff cleaned up is you get it taken down, and then it's just a whack-a-mole where it's like, oh, well, it's back up.
Stoli, which is a Russian-affiliated vodka brand, but also has a U.S. business, has announced that they're shutting down operations in the U.S. It is related specifically to a data breach and ransomware attack.
It read like they were already on their back foot, though, because they
they definitely were.
That were seized by Russia. So it's just sort of like if you're trying to make do with what remains, and then what remains gets ransomed, you're just sort of like, well, I guess. Yeah, I guess they're going to take the ransomware punch in the head. So
Bronwyn brought up ransomware kills about 60% of the small businesses that get hit. The difference is they're not in the news.
And they don't make Stoli.
Right?
The second half of this article was pretty interesting, where I didn't realize all the drama behind the Stoli and the Russian part, where the actual president actually had to flee Russia in the 2000s and become a UK citizen. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Just a crazy story.
British hospitals hit by cyberattacks. They're still trying to restore services, a week later. This is another example of ransomware stuff. It's not like it's an unstoppable attack, but I will say that some of these types of organizations that are deploying these ransomwares are really, really advanced compared to what we were seeing maybe 5 years ago. Ransomware isn't just about disabling and encrypting systems and files anymore. It's about extortion. And when you're doing extortion type ransomware, you have to ensure that you've captured enough data that they're willing to pay. That requires persistence. You can't just get in, dump the FTP server and say, check out these 6 updates for Ubuntu server. You got to pay us $10 million. You have to go deep enough to get their crown jewels, their CEO's emails, corruption related stuff, or stuff that shouldn't be public at all, or that they're willing to pay. So I do think that requires persistence. It requires an embedded threat actor in a network for a long period of time, moving laterally, elevating privileges, getting access to everything, and then extorting them based on that.
There's relatively unsophisticated ransomware, and there's very sophisticated ransomware. Some of these ransomware attacks are happening because they're missing very good basic cybersecurity hygiene. And when you look at companies and you ask them, can you give me an inventory of the IP devices you have on your network and the software that they're running? So many companies, big ones all the way down to little mom and pop, say, meh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have the tools to do that. And at that point, I have to say that's BS. I really do believe if we would take cybersecurity hygiene a bit more seriously, these ransomware attacks would dip.
Join us for live InfoSec news every Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Black Hills InfoSec YouTube channel.